All right, so welcome everyone. Today we are here to talk about changing the fat loss paradigm with BFR. And I know that's kind of a big title, but it really is. And as I've continued to learn about BFR, and I'll talk a little bit more about what that is in a minute, but it has really continued to just change the way I think about exercise because the science is so clear about the effectiveness of BFR and also how it works with our body in a different way than what we're used to thinking. And that's where the big mental shift comes in that I want to talk about today. So I'm really excited today because we're going to have a guest speaker, Lauren Shroyer, who's a longtime friend and colleague of mine. She's on the call and she's going to share her story today, which I have found to be super compelling and inspiring and surprising in some ways. But I want to give a little bit of background information before she jumps in with her story, just so we can frame up for all of you on the call who maybe aren't familiar with BFR, what it is and what the science is behind it. So um, first of all, just going to talk a little bit about how we normally think of weight loss. Oftentimes we think of it as calories in and calories out. So how much do we eat? How much do we move and exercise? So when people try to lose weight, often they think, oh, I eat less, I move more, and I lose weight. And oftentimes that is successful until it isn't anymore. And what happens if you use that approach long term, doing more activity, and reducing your food, you over time lose muscle mass, which as we age, that's a big negative because muscle mass is key to not only our metabolism, but our endocrine system, regulating our blood sugar, maintaining our energy. So we don't want to lose muscle, but over exercising and under fueling will cause you to lose muscle because our body will turn to protein in our muscles for fuel. And it will also slow our metabolism down. And as we age, our metabolism will gradually slow down on its own. And so we want to do everything we can to maintain our metabolism as we age. And eating less is not going to do that. So the way we used to think about it often, and sometimes it works for us in our 20s and 30s that we can just exercise and eat less and we'll lose weight. But I often hear from women in 40s and 50s and beyond that what used to work for them no longer works. And it makes sense when you think about our hormones because we start to lose estrogen starting in our 40s. And with loss of estrogen comes loss of human growth hormone. We're going to talk a lot about human growth hormone today, but it's an amazing hormone. As the name suggests, it helps with growth. So we have a ton of it as a teenager and in our 20s because we're growing our body, our muscles, our bone structure. But as we age, we slowly get less of it. But the problem is it's a very effective hormone for regulating our energy, our metabolism, helping us to maintain and increase our muscle and our bone. So the more we can hang on to it, the better. When we go through menopause, we get a decrease in human growth hormone, which often leads to an increase in weight gain and a decrease in strength. So this is where BFR training kind of enters the picture. I went through menopause in my 40s and started having trouble maintaining my muscle mass, even though I lifted and everything. And when I first got introduced to BFR, I was literally shocked at how quickly it was effective. And so what it does, and I'll show you real quick, what blood flow restriction training is you use really specific cuffs that you put on your upper arms and upper legs when you exercise. It's the only piece of exercise equipment that truly changes how your body responds to exercise. So it's not about doing different exercises. It's about having our body change how it responds. By having these cuffs on our arms or legs, it reduces oxygen to the working muscles. Now, intuitively, in a way, and when I first heard about it, it kind of sounds like, do you really want to reduce oxygen to your muscles? Is that a good thing? Kind of sounds intuitively maybe not what you want when you're exercising. But there are decades of science now that show us that by adding this kind of safe and kind of moderate stress to our body as we exercises results in a plethora of health gains and a plethora of responses from our body that leads to health gains. So the decreased oxygen, the biggest thing it does is it increases the amount of blood lactate in our body. I won't get too deep in the science, but I do want to touch on the science because this is the key of how to explain that this method really works from a scientific standpoint. It's not just gimmick, it's not just a new fad. It actually is based in science. The increase in blood lactate does a lot of amazing things, but the really huge thing it does is it sends a signal to our brain telling us our muscles are in deep fatigue and we need human growth hormone. So there's that word again, human growth hormone, that decreases as we age, and especially during menopause. With BFR training, we can produce a significant amount of human growth hormone by this signal from blood lactate to our brain to increase human growth hormone. Human growth hormone does a lot of things. It builds muscle, it builds bone density, it helps with healing, it reduces pain. But staying on topic today, which we're talking about fat loss, the other huge thing human growth hormone does is that it instigates lipolysis in our body. And what lipolysis is it's when we have body fat, it's stored in fat cells. Those fat cells on their own are too big for our body to break down and use as energy. So a lot of times they just sit there. Even though we have stored energy in our body, we can't access it. Lipolysis is the process of taking those fat cells and breaking them down into smaller cells so that our body can actually use those for energy. So oftentimes, if we have extra body fat, we have energy sitting there that our body can't tap into. Human growth hormone is the key linking our body to be able to get to that fat as an energy source and as a fuel source. And thus we can use that body fat for energy, which then leads to weight loss. So that is the key. The blood lactate leads to human growth hormone, which leads to lipolysis. And that's why it's a completely different way of thinking about weight loss than what we normally think of. It's because it's not about eating less. It's not about doing more. It's about tapping into our body's ability to use our fat source for fuel. So let's see. I think I'm going to stop there. And let Lauren really talk about her story in a real life. It'll turn this kind of science explanation into more of a real life story that you can probably more relate to and understand how this science works in real life. So Lauren, I'm going to turn it over to you. I think you might have to unmute.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Excellent. Thanks, Ashley. That was a great explanation. I really appreciate it as the intro.
Sure.
That was awesome. So hi, everybody. I'm Lauren Shroyer. As Ashley said, we've known each other for a very long time. And I'm just so grateful to her for kicking off this BFR journey for me and leading me through it, getting me started, because it's been amazing. So I'll just start a little bit with my health history. So after I had kids in my 30s, my early 30s, after my firstborn, I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's thyroiditis, which is hypothyroidism, which means it was the first time that my metabolism started slowing down. And so I was put on medication. I've been on thyroid medication ever since. And the other big health event that happened in my life that really impacted my metabolism and ultimately weight gain is that in 2021, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And it was found that the breast cancer I had was it's a HER2 positive, which is a hormone sensitive cancer. And so the treatment for that is to block estrogen in the body. So I'm on tamoxifen, which is an estrogen blocker. So any estrogen that I was producing, even though I was 50 when it happened, still is likely producing estrogen. Any estrogen that I was producing or am producing now is blocked. My body cannot absorb it. So it's as if I don't have any. I was not in menopause when I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And just for anybody who's wondering, I'm doing great now. It was level 1. They caught it early. So it's a happy story. But still the 5 years of tamoxifen is the treatment. So it pushed me into menopause immediately. And that any of you who've gone through menopause can imagine was horrifyingly fast, and the hot flashes were terrible. And the impact on my body was rapid. I saw a decrease in muscle mass very quickly. a decrease in energy that was kind of unfathomable. It was, Ashley didn't bring this up. We are colleagues. I've been in the fitness industry for over 25 years. I, had been working out regularly, going to the gym, lifting weights. I had already through perimenopause noticed some atrophy, especially in my legs, where I have some old injuries in my knees and couldn't lift quite as heavy. But the progression of that atrophy was startling. And I felt terrible all of the time. My body ached. I went to the gym not because I would feel better afterwards, but because I would feel the same. And I knew it was healthier for me to go to the gym. And that was not ever my experience in going to the gym. I loved going to the gym. I love working out. I love the feeling of feeling better afterwards. So it also just became kind of defeating and really difficult to keep up with that healthy lifestyle. My weight gain journey started earlier though. That started in my 40s when, today I realize it was perimenopause, whatever, 10 years ago, we weren't really talking about perimenopause very much. So, wasn't really familiar. I just thought, I was commuting a lot. I had 3 kids, a full-time job. I was gaining some weight. So over the course of about 7 years in my 40s, I probably gained about 5 pounds. COVID added a quick 2 after I was working from home. And then when I went on the tamoxifen, over the course of 3 years, I gained 10 more pounds. And at that point, I started to get pretty concerned. So my family history is pretty strong in heart disease. And obviously there is a strong correlation between having overweight or obesity and heart disease. So I started to become extremely concerned, not only about the weight that I had gained, but the fact that I could not lose it. Anything that I had done previously in my life to lose weight, it just didn't work anymore. I would, as Ashley was talking about before, I would restrict my calories, I would work out more, and I might maintain the weight. But I also just felt terrible. I felt hungry. I felt lethargic. It was hard to focus. It was hard to concentrate. And it was just not the experience that I'd ever had before with trying to lose weight, and my weight has fluctuated throughout my life. I had done it many times before and I just couldn't do it again. So I became really concerned about my health. And if I'm 100% honest, I didn't fit my clothes. That didn't feel real great. I'd go shopping. I didn't even know what size to buy anymore because I just literally had no clue where to start with buying new jeans. So it was just a really challenging time for me. And gosh, that was end of 2023. As I said, I'm in the fitness industry. I took a course on blood flow restriction training. And I was fascinated by the research that this course presented and what was actually happening in the body, as Ashley talked about this chain of events of what happens when you have the bands on, how it increases lactate in the muscles, and then what the metabolic processes as a result. So I thought that was super cool. And then I didn't do anything about it. I just thought that was really interesting because I'm a little bit of a nerd like that. But about a month later, I saw Ashley post something on LinkedIn, and she was using blood flow restriction bands. And I felt so fortunate I could reach out to her. And I said, what's going on? What are you doing? Tell me more. She jumped on a call with me. I got started in the 21-day program and, started using the bands. It was a huge paradigm shift in exercise for me. I've always been, kind of a heavy lifter, and this was, more reps, less weight, big paradigm shift. But I stuck 100% to the program exactly as she had designed it so that I could onboard completely and really get my body used to the blood flow restriction training. And I noticed changes really fast. And it was so exciting to see that. And as I continued, I started in February. And as I continued to see these changes in hypertrophy or more muscle mass, I knew, from my background, that meant my metabolism would be faster, that I would have a higher metabolism. And so I thought, well, gosh, I wonder if I could lose weight now. Like, I wonder if I tried again, because I wasn't trying. I was just doing the workouts. At that point, I was like, fine, I will be this weight forever. I just need to be healthy and manage my health in different ways. So I decided to try again. And I was surprised. I started to lose weight. And it started to come off pretty steadily, about, half a pound to a pound a week. And I was thrilled that it was finally, I was finally seeing some changes. And then I found out about the fact that human growth hormone helps you tap into the fat cells as an energy source. And it really clicked for me because this time when I was trying to lose weight, I wasn't lethargic. I wasn't having those kind of foggy moments. I had the energy I needed. And what the research and this what Ashley was explaining in the science really helped me to understand was, well, of course, because my body can actually tap into the fat cells and get energy. So even though I maybe was eating less calories than I was putting out in the day, there was energy. It was in my body, and it was using that energy to fuel my day. So the shift and change and my experience in trying to lose the weight at that point was just exceptional. The other things I saw is I saw an increase in strength. I felt that increase in strength completely in everything I did during the day, which, anyone who's doing BFR will say they'll see this, within weeks, let alone months. And at this point, I'm now, well, that was February. So, I'm over 8 months of my journey here. I started to see that increase in stamina. I started to stay at the gym longer just because I was enjoying it, and was able to increase the intensity of some of my cardio workouts just because I loved it. And my joint pain started to decrease. So my knee pain has decreased significantly. I'm sure is a combination of what Ashley was talking about, which is the physiological effects, but also the fact that I'm stronger today. I have muscle mass back in my legs that I had been losing. My back feels better. I used to have issues with my back and my neck after I would work out. With the lower weights with BFR, that's not an issue. So it's really been a fascinating journey. I think the big thing for me is that I feel like myself again. As I was going through this, especially after the breast cancer, I didn't recognize my body. I didn't feel like the same person. I just felt like I was flogging along, and didn't enjoy the things that I've truly, loved and have been a kind of a respite for me on a daily basis to sort of recuperate. And workouts have always been my me time, and I didn't enjoy them anymore. So getting all of that back has been just completely life-changing for me. I know that sounds extreme, but it really has been completely life-changing for me. I feel so much better. And that's why when Ashley asked me if I would join and share my story, I said, yeah, absolutely. I'd love to, because I would just love for other people to have this kind of an experience, where they kind of feel like their body's back and it's back to them. And it's been pretty awesome.
So Lauren, how much weight have you lost total now that you've been using BFR, and in what time period?
So I started trying again in mid-May. So that's May, June, July, August. So it's about 4 months. And I've lost 22 pounds. So, and just so everybody knows that I am at a weight that I was previously. This is not a new weight for me. This is a previous weight, but I'm down 22 pounds.
Yeah, which is significant. And how tall are you, Lauren, just to give people a reference
Oh,
point?
yeah, I think that's a great reference point. I'm also 4'11". So 22 pounds for me is probably closer to 30 for a lot of people. It's a pretty extreme weight loss.
Yeah, I know when I've heard your story about, my story isn't really around, I didn't have a weight loss journey. I had more of an injury and muscle, being able to gain muscle, which again, it was life changing for me. And I know it does sound kind of extreme to say that, but like it's changed my emotional state. Has changed my mental outlook for aging. It's made me feel like my spark is back, and I sense the same things from you. But when I
Yeah.
heard your story, which was different from my story of the weight loss, and how there was this very distinct difference of how easily it was for you to lose weight, it actually sounded pretty easy and not horrible, not like a chore the way it used to. And that it was really just the change in you using BFR that triggered this change in your body. And I know the science and I've studied the science, but then when you see it really happen in someone's life, and now I've seen it in many people throughout my program, it's just so exciting and cool to be like, oh, okay, this is the science I can read about this is a human being who is having this amazing experience and life-changing, improving, moment with this technique. So anyway,
Yeah.
it is pretty exciting to hear your
No,
story.
it's so true. I think it was easy, and I just keep using this word, and it seems so strange to me because weight loss has never been easy for me ever. It's always been a work and a chore, and I don't want to pretend that I just started losing weight and never, I focused on what I was eating. I made sure that I was getting my protein every day. I wanted to, so it was tracking what I was eating to make sure that I was, being mindful about it. I was very mindful about, oh, don't snack, you're not hungry, you're just bored, right? Like the things that we all know, but that it just started to work then. I think the other thing that happened for me is something that you said, Ashley, kind of triggered it, is I kind of had my spark back, right? I felt better overall. I had this better energy. And so when I had to go, when I found myself in the kitchen looking in the pantry at the chips that I buy for the children, I could say, no, I don't want that. I don't need that. I don't want that. That's not getting me closer to my goal. And I think it was harder previously to do that because I was in a bit of a funk.
Mhm.
So it also, I think, made it a lot easier for me to say, no, this isn't getting you closer to your goal. Don't do that. Close the pantry door and go back to work. And I work from home, so it becomes pretty easy to go and grab a snack from downstairs.
Yeah, I think the two things I think about with BFR that you said, one is like it gives people sort of their spark back, their mojo back. Like you said, you felt like yourself again. The other thing is it gives people hope, or it gives people, like you said, when you don't have hope, when you're like, well, I've tried everything and nothing's working, then it's so hard to stay motivated to even try it all, right? So the
Yep.
hope of like, whoa, this is changing my life, this is changing my body, I can feel the change, becomes a really positive motivator because you see the benefits that are happening.
Yeah, that's so true. I had lost hope, and I think I kind of said that, but I just like, I'm never going to lose this weight. It's fine. It is what it is. It's fine. I just lost the hope that I could lose the weight. And really the only thing that was keeping me exercising was the fact that I work in the fitness industry, and I know 100% that it's healthy for me. So I had to do it. Like I made myself do it, but it was just no longer the joy that I had from it
Mhm.
previously.
So, Lauren, I have a question in the chat, and this is a good question. I meant to ask this, so thank you, Azita. Talk a little bit more about what your weekly BFR routine is. Maybe like how much were you working out before BFR, and then how much did you know? I'm kind of interested. Did you work out more? Did you work out less? Was it about the same? And just kind of get people to understand the volume of that.
Yeah, sure. That's a great question. So before I started using BFR, I was probably working out, I'd say 4 days a week would be what I was shooting for 4 to 5 days a week. Sometimes it would be three. Like I said, 3 kids and a job sometimes would get in the way of it. And I let it, by the way, because didn't really want to go because it hurt. So I did let it get in the way more. But I was lifting heavy and I was lifting regularly. And I was doing hit intervals um, on the elliptical. But I'd say it was pretty regularly 4 days a week. And I would be there for an hour. Do 30 minutes of cardio and then 30 minutes of weights and then come home. So that was my pre-BFR routine. Once I started BFRs, many of you who've gone through it already know there's, then the onboarding. And so the onboarding is, a lot less time. And so I only did BFR. I didn't do any other weights. And I did the 30 minutes of cardio. So still, it was exactly Ashley's program. So it was, that 3-4 days a week. And I did exactly what she told me to do for the entire program. And then now what I'm doing is I do 20 minutes of BFR every time I go to the gym. I'm at the gym 5 days a week because, like I said, I love it. So I just want to continue to emphasize I love being there. I love being at the gym. It is how I end every day and transition from being at work to being at home. Um, but my progression was going from that 3 days a week, 3 to 4 days a week to really steadily 4 days a week to 5 days a week because I enjoyed it. And it's a 20 minutes of BFR, and I still do 30 minutes of cardio while I'm there, and I'm still doing HIIT training most days on cardio, not all days, but most. And then my goal right now is to increase the muscle mass in my legs still, because I'm still trying to get all that back, although it's increased significantly. I'm still trying to get it all back. And so on leg days, I will add additional, after I'm done with the 20 minutes of BFR, I add additional heavy weight. And I can do that now because my knees don't hurt anymore. And that's pretty awesome.
That's awesome. So kind of to summarize that. So it sounds like you were working out 4 days a week for about an hour, 30 minutes cardio, 30 minutes weight. Then you add a BFR, and actually the time went down a little bit initially, and then you kind of gradually built it back up. And now your time is probably about the same. You're going to the gym maybe one more time a week because you're loving it, but it's not more time, but it's giving you a lot more result. And I think,
Huge.
Lauren is, in the fitness industry. So exercise motivation is, well, I guess actually it was a challenge for a while when things weren't going well, even being in the fitness industry. But now that you're back to yourself, feeling more like yourself, that's not an issue. For some people, exercise motivation is more of an issue. I'll just say that I have found with my BFR program that one, the workouts are very short. They are 20 minutes, 3 to 4 days a week. And you start to feel this positive momentum that Lauren mentioned. You see the change quickly. You feel stronger quickly. You start to see the weight loss more quickly. So there's this positive motivation. So the person who may have struggled to work out 3 days a week before, all of a sudden starts realizing, wait, I want to do this. It's worth it. I'm seeing the result. And so I've really noticed a change in people's momentum and willingness to be consistent with the program. I'll talk a little bit about my program. One thing that we're doing, and Lauren actually is helping me with this, because we have a background working together in the fitness industry, and she's very science minded, as am I, but I think Lauren even more so. We started talking about like how amazing would it be to do some scientific research around women, especially, well, all women. We're looking at all ages, but especially women sort of mid 40s and older, as they've started to have some hormonal changes, because that's really when a lot of these challenges start popping up, of like the weight loss and losing muscle. And so we're actually conducting a women's studies on BFR that nobody's done before, for women specifically. And there's so much talk now about women, menopause, women's health, and how little research there is on that population. It's horrible. Like, women have not been the focus of research, and that's where a lot of recommendations come from, decisions in health treatments and things come from. And there's just not enough data around women. And we see so much potential. I see so much potential in blood flow restriction for women, and nobody's talking about it as a solution for women. And it is easy to do. The weights are light. It's less injury risk than typical training. And so we're doing a study, and I'm looking for a few more people to join the study. We have about 30 people so far, 15 who started. We have about 15 more that are going to be starting this weekend. So if anyone's interested in that, I'll send a follow-up email today with a little more information and a link that you can get more information and sign up for the registration list if you're interested in getting more information. But we really want to capture data on enough women that we can show that this method really has the potential to change women's lives. A lot of you who know me, I own Evolution. I've owned a gym for almost 20 years, and I'm not really I wasn't looking to start a new business, but when I learned about BFR, I really realized that this has more potential to help people than anything I've come across in my 30-year career. And I'm not saying that lightly. that's a pretty huge statement for me. And so I've really started putting a lot of energy into this because I just see it helping so many people. It changed my life. It's changed Lauren's life. So if any of you want more information about that, I'll send up a follow-up email on that. And I'm happy to talk to any of you individually, or you can get more information through the links I'll be sending. But before we go, I just want to open up Q&A. Does anyone have any further questions to ask Lauren on her amazing story and share? You can put it in the chat, or feel free to unmute yourself. Or if anyone has any questions about the BFR program that Lauren referenced as well, that I am having women work through, feel free to ask that too. Yeah, Deanna, I saw you raise your hand.
Yeah, hi, Lauren, thank you. It's great to hear your story. Can you just repeat like what that transition was from doing BFR regularly to then trying to lose weight again? What was
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so as I was doing BFR regularly, I started to see the increase in muscle mass. And so when I decided to try losing weight again, I did a couple of things. So I kind of went back to, well, what worked for me in the past to lose weight? And with my new exercise routine, what nutrients do I need to be cognizant of? Because I knew I was gaining muscle at the same time. So I was very careful about my protein intake to be sure that I was getting enough protein throughout the day, even though I was decreasing the total number of calories. To be honest, for me, I just cut my portion sizes across my day, especially at dinner. I just went anything I would normally eat, I ate half and then checked in, see if I was still hungry or not. And I made sure that I wasn't snacking throughout the day or eating. The way I think about it is less nutrient dense foods. I tried to keep them out of my diet. So instead focusing on making sure I had enough protein, making sure I was getting, sort of the micronutrients from vegetables and fruits. And then fiber was the other thing that I was focused on. So, and these are all just things that you'll read anywhere. It's not like I did anything super special or different.
How much protein were you trying to get in a day, Lauren? About?
Oh gosh, it's so hard because it's so much when you're doing hypertrophy training. So my goal is it's about the equivalent of like 1 pound. For each pound, you're supposed to have a gram of protein. I don't think I ever get there because that's like 120 grams of protein a day. So I'd say I'm somewhere between 90 to 100 most days.
Mm-hmm.
And that's and the 1 pound per 1 gram per pound is that's the top end of the goal when you're hypertrophy training. So that's what I was aiming for. But I use protein powder. I use a collagen protein powder because it's the only way I can get enough.
Yeah. I always find that that's a big question, and also like how to get that much protein. But I kind of agree. And even for myself, and I weigh a little bit more than you, but like around that 100 grams of protein is about the most I feel like I can comfortably get in without feeling like it's too much of a chore. And I do it both through a combination of, eating food that has protein, and that's chicken or eggs or Greek yogurt, but also I do some protein powder. I put a couple times a day. Sometimes I do a protein shake that has a lot, like maybe 30 to 40 grams. And I maybe split it into two, and I kind of eat it a couple different times during the day. Sometimes I even put a little bit of protein powder in my coffee that's plain tasting. I know some people are like, no, I'm not going to touch my coffee, but like I can't even taste it. So I just put maybe even just like 10 grams. It's not a lot, but I feel like it kickstarts my day. And I have found that like getting a little bit of protein here and there throughout the day helps me versus just being like, I got to eat all this protein in my meals. I try to sneak it in. 5 grams, 10 grams here and there can really add up over the course of the day.
That's awesome advice, Ashley. I put a unflavored protein powder in my water.
Oh, wow.
And then I could just drink it throughout the day. Yeah. And because you can't taste it. You really can't. A great idea. So because I won't touch my coffee either. So
I never thought about water. That's funny. That's yeah. I guess I didn't think it would be flavorless, but you're right. That's a good point. So another question that came through, Lauren, this is a good one. Speak more about your Hashimoto's and how to not trigger intense fatigue from an autoimmune disorder.
Oh gosh, yes. My life has been intense fatigue from an autoimmune disorder since my 30s. So I think that was obviously part of what happened when I went on the tamoxifen. So I already had Hashimoto's, so I was already struggling with these bouts of fatigue. And then when they just stopped my estrogen, it was like game over. And walking up the stairs in my house was exhausting for my legs. It was awful. So yeah, what I would say is Ashley's program was perfect. I started slow. I listened to my body. I stopped when my body said stop. And I would say that I am very in tune with my body, probably because of the Hashimoto's, because I probably overdid it sometimes, right? Where I was just exhausted. But it's just important to, be constantly in tune with your body and understanding, like, okay, wait, this feels like too much, or, I need to slow this down. What I think is amazing about the BFR training is that it is actually less load in every workout. And that was really game changing for me. And like I said, a paradigm shift because I was used to lifting heavy, but it was absolutely game changing for me because I could lift less and my body said, thank you for doing that. And with less weight, still able to increase muscle mass. So with BFR, and Ashley, I can't remember if you said this earlier, but the weights I was lifting were, 50% or even 30% of the weight that I would normally lift. And it's still like that today. So when I take the bands off and I go and I lift heavy, it's a lot, like it's more than 30% more than I lift with the bands on. But I don't need to do that. So I don't put that strain on my body or on my immune system because I'm lifting so much lighter. So and I haven't read the research on it. So I don't want to, speak out of turn about the metabolic process, but in my own body, I don't feel it conflicting with what's going on and how the thyroid medications are supporting my Hashimoto's.
Yeah, and I'll say thanks, Lauren. That's a great answer, especially coming from someone who has experienced that and has a background on that. I don't personally have a issue with Hashimoto's, or actually did have low-ish thyroid before, and it has improved with BFR. And that is because reducing the time and stress of the workouts reduces your cortisol, you get more human growth hormone, and that is a positive response to your thyroid. So I would just say, Natalie, or anyone coming into the program that has any concerns about something, energy, autoimmune, any kind of issue that they're worried about doing too much, will just start conservatively. And to Lauren's point, my intro program does start very conservatively for that reason, to help people have time to adapt to this mode gradually. And so their body can kind of respond. And then just like any working out, you listen. And if you feel like, oh, that workout made me more tired than I want to be, then we just back off the next time. And if you feel good, then we just gradually add. And it's just a constant, response to how you feel. But I would just start conservatively, and the hope would be it actually gives you more energy over time, not taking it away.
Completely.
But great question.
That's been my experience. Absolutely. The increased energy over time. And anyone who has Hashimoto's understands that's wonderful. It's been, 20 years of low energy and trying to fight low energy. And so just to have that back has been pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm. And I'll say two reasons how BFR helps you with energy. One, as you were saying, Lauren, is just helping with the thyroid, helping with your metabolism and getting things to run at a higher level. The other big thing the BFR does, we haven't talked about this today, is it helps your mitochondria become more healthy and more efficient. And mitochondria is basically the energy cell of our body. It is, It is the cell that takes oxygen from the blood, turns it into fuel for the muscle. And the more efficient and effective that mitochondria is, the more energy we have. And so BFR is really amazing at helping our mitochondria become healthier and more efficient. And so there's two ways that it sort of helps your energy level. So anyway, but yeah, it is a pretty great feeling. Maureen, we'll go to you next.
I have two questions. One is I'm very interested in the protein powder, but a lot of the protein powder contains soy, which I cannot have. So I was wondering, both of you seem to be using protein powder. Can you recommend what you're using, and do you know if it contains soy or not?
Yeah,
And
I also have,
sorry.
oh no, that's okay. I have a lot of food sensitivities myself. So I can't have whey and I can't have soy either. So I use a collagen protein powder. The downside of collagen protein powder is that collagen is not a complete protein. It doesn't have tryptophan, which is one of the amino acids that the other protein powders do have. But I'm limited to my options. That's my options. I can have that and it doesn't upset my stomach, so that it works great. And there are a lot of unflavored options. What I also like about the collagen is it really dissolves in any liquid. So like I said, I just mix it into my water and it's not like gritty or clumpy or anything. It just dissolves into the water. So that's my preference.
Okay, any particular brand, or where do you get it?
I get it at Costco.
Okay.
Vital Proteins, they have it at Costco. And they have it on, well, they have it at my Costco. I mean, everybody's Costco is a little different, right? But and I think it's a collagen is an animal protein, so it's I'm looking for something that's like organic and free range, right? Is the best if you can.
And Ashley, what is the protein that you're using, the protein powder that you're using?
I mix it up. I do collagen, Paleo Valley collagen. Yeah. And then sometimes I'll do Shakeology, or I'll do what's the other one called? That's not just protein powder, it's sort of more of a complete meal replacement. It has lots of other kind of nutrients in it, but it uses pea protein. So a vegan protein. Again, downsides of that is not a complete protein. But I sometimes will use oh gosh, what's it? An amino acid supplement to add to that.
Okay.
It starts getting to be a lot of powders, so it just depends on how I kind of try to meet people where they're at and not overwhelm them. But so those are the other options.
So what's the name or brand of your proteins? So
for the collagen, I use Paleo Valley. It's just one that I like, and then Shakeology is one that I use. It's more of a meal replacement.
Shakeology, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
There's another one that I can't remember the name right now, but it's a similar product as Shakeology.
Then my next question is, sorry to monopolize the time, but I have bad blood circulation, so I'm wondering if I use something that's restricting here, is it like I'm starting to develop? I have the same exact story as Lauren. I'm on the hormone blocker also because of cancer, and I have all the symptoms that she has with back, knee, and pain all over. Mm-hmm. And also starting to develop carpal tunnel. So I'm wondering, and my hands are getting numb when I squeeze things. So if I put pressure like this on my arms and legs, is it how is it with the blood flow? Is it going to be worse?
Yeah, that's a good question. And there are some contraindications to using BFR, but they're pretty specific and pretty isolated. What is your reason for, you said you have some circulation issues. Can you share more about what that is? Or I can just more generally talk about it if you don't want to share that.
Well, it seems that for my carpal tunnel, for example, it seems that I get some swelling in my arm, especially towards the end of the day. Not sure why. I'm also getting swelling in my ankles. And so for my feet, I don't feel anything special, except I develop also plantar fascia. But For my hands, I know that when I'm driving now, my left hand gets numb or tingling.
Yeah. So, so a couple things about BFR is one, you could do legs only to start with if it's mostly an upper body thing. And so I might start you there. The other thing I would I would probably want to put the armbands on you and just go very conservative with the pressure to start and see how your body responds. And as long as there's not a negative response, like if you had numbness and you had worse numbness with the bands, that would mean it was too tight, right? So we would start really conservative. And ideally, as you use BFR, your body, just like any stress we put on our body, if we put too much stress on our body too quickly, that can be a negative. But if we put gradual stress, that is how our body gets stronger, and that's how our body adapts. So I would start with a small amount of stress and see how your body adapts. And ideally, your circulation can improve with blood flow restriction. That's been proven that your blood pressure can get reduced. Your vascular system learns to become more flexible again, which is a good thing. As we age, it tends to get stiffer, and we want flexible vascular system that prevents blood clots and stroke, and that lowers our blood pressure. So I would start conservatively with you and then just go by how you feel. If there's any negative issues, I'd go even more conservative, but I would try to gradually work you up. And if for some reason the arms just didn't work for you, then I would focus on the legs, and you still would get a lot of the same systemic benefits from using the legs only.
So how do we do your training? Is that something we do? You go to your gym or you
no, it's all virtual. It's all virtual, and it's a mix of videos, recordings that you follow, and then I also do live Zoom classes. So virtual, but live. We're doing groups where I can watch your form, give you feedback. We do calls like this that are more intimate with our group hot topic calls. I do coaching calls. So yeah, it's a pretty in-depth coaching program. You get 3 workouts a week of 20 minutes that are just really pretty carefully planned out to be the right volume and the right mix of muscle groups. It's a $200 a month program. I will send a follow-up email with that if you want more, or Maureen, you can reach out to me directly and I'm happy to talk to you. I don't want to make it too much of a sales pitch here, but that is available. And obviously that's something I believe in a lot that I'm building. So I appreciate the question. Thank you.
Okay, so it's at home, so I don't have to go to your gym. So that's good.
Correct.
And you would make a list of what equipment we need also for the class.
Yeah, the equipment you need are light dumbbells, like 5 to 10 pound dumbbells at the most. Tubing, which we actually give you along with the bands, and then you need to buy. We sell the bands at cost. If you join our program, because we're not really trying to make money on the bands. We're trying to just get people on them to get people to coaching. But these bands cost $450 normally. They're very, very safe and easy to use. They never become a tourniquet the way they're designed. We sell them over time for $300 if you join the program. So that's just a part of the cost of using the BFR training.
Okay, so you will send all this information by email for those who want to join?
Yeah, I'll send a follow-up email with the recording to this webinar, and then I'll also include some information about the program. I'll send a link to the study that's happening this weekend, but if that's too soon or that's not something that works for you, then you can join anytime, and I'll send you information about that as well. Thank you, Maureen. Great question. Deanna, did you have another question?
Yeah, I did. For Lauren, have you tested your thyroid levels? And have you noticed that they're higher and that you've relied less on thyroid meds? Like,
I haven't tested them again. Yeah, I haven't tested them again. It's on my list, is to go and get blood tests again to see what the response has been. So I've just been taking my medication every morning, just like I always have.
Yeah.
But yes, I'm at the point where it's time for me to get a physical anyway. So I'm going to need to go in and get that. We'll keep you apprised, Deanna, and let you know.
Yeah, I'll be very curious to hear. I will say that my thyroid, mine was on the low end of normal. So mine was still considered normal, but on the low end, and mine is now normal. And that's been since using BFR, and mine was low for a long time. And I just thought that was genetic. My mom has low thyroid. So I just thought that was, but it has improved. So seems like, and I know other people have had that experience, so it does seem like there's a correlation to that. But Lauren, I'll be super curious to hear your measurements when you get them back.
It's a positive motivation to go to the doctor, which is rare. So,
Right. Great. Well, I think we'll wrap there unless I don't see any other questions coming in. But there were some great questions there. Sounds like you guys were pretty interested in that topic. I know I was really, really happy that Lauren was willing to share her story because I felt inspired by hearing it and just was so excited for her. So thanks for joining today. I will definitely send a follow-up email. And then for sure, if anyone has further questions for Lauren or for myself or about my program, feel free to reach out. I would be honored to work with any of you. And thanks again.
Thank you.
very much.
All right. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for doing this.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Bye-bye.